Okay, so yesterday you received this chart right here. So let me go ahead and zoom out a little bit. You received this chart here as a chart that you could use to elaborate on text evidence. Miss Ernest and I, we've been already looking at your work from yesterday's writing, and we're noticing that some of you are still struggling with this elaboration. What do you say? How do you say more about the evidence that you have presented? Okay, so we wanted to give you this chart, and we wanted this chart to help you to say more, to inspire you on ways that you can say more. So we're following this SPEC initials, this anagram. S stands for your senses. You can say more about a piece of text evidence by describing it. What would that look like to somebody who was looking at it, listening to it, standing near it? How would it smell? Touching it, how would it feel? Maybe it's something that you can eat. How would it taste? Okay, so you say more about the text evidence by describing it. P stands for personal life, your personal life. It also stands for policies. Policies like laws and rules. So after you present the text evidence, you might say more by talking about how this might affect somebody's personal life, or what kinds of rules and regulations our government or our school or our classroom might have to put in place as a result of this information. The E stands for the environment and the economy. So once you present the text evidence, then you can turn around and you can say more by perhaps talking about how this might affect the environment. How does this text evidence, how does this information affect the environment? Or how might it affect the economy? Economy is the amount of money in a place. How might it affect your own personal finances, your family's finances, your city's finances, or your country's finances? And then the C stands for culture or community. So once you present the text evidence, then you can say more by talking about how this information or how these facts might affect or impact a culture, a certain group of people. Okay, so maybe a certain community of people, a certain people, maybe like Native Americans or immigrants. Or you might also talk about how it might affect your community. How might it affect your neighborhood or your city or the region in which you live in? We live in a county. How would it affect our county? How would it affect our school? Okay, so these are 4 different ways in which you can say more about the text evidence that you are presenting. Okay, so I wanted to give you the opportunity to practice this a little bit. And so I wanted to model using our food flavoring text set. Okay, and so you can see at the top of the model that you've glued into your notebook that we have a piece of evidence. And this piece of evidence states, the article, "Are These Chips Too Delicious?" points out that scientists work in top secret laboratories and are forbidden from speaking of their experiments. Okay, now I wrote a say more, and you have it right in your notebook so that you have an example. So after you would present that, you might say something like, companies that are in the food flavoring business want to protect the work of their scientists from other companies, which basically is from their competition. Other companies who are also in the food flavoring business might steal work and use it on their own projects. So if the research from what I'm saying more is I'm kind of explaining to my reader what this quote means. What is the author saying when they use these words? And how does it support the main idea that there is a secret aspect to food flavoring? Okay, so I want to give you the opportunity to practice. And so I'm giving you this quote. In contrast, the article A Bloody History explains that during the 1400s, Europeans had no idea where spices came from. Traders refused to reveal where they got the seasonings. They wanted to keep their sources secret so that they could control the spice trade. Okay, so working with a partner, I want you to go ahead and turn and talk, and I want you to say more about that quote in practice 1. Okay, turn and talk. I think we probably can figure out that the other end is standing there and have a partner, and you can get yourself over there. I love how Caden and Blake are already at work. They're already writing and jotting in their notebooks. Okay, and Braden and Antonio, they're already writing their say more, their elaboration. Question? You're going to say more about that quote. How would you say more? What would be the next sentence that you would have in your body paragraph? Say more. So is that what this quote is saying? What is this quote saying? What is this quote telling you? As a reader, when you're reading that quote, what is it saying?
So if this were your writing, you concluded, in contrast, the article, A Bloody History, explains that during the 1400s, Europeans had no idea where spices came from. Traders refused to reveal where they got the spices. They wanted to keep their spices secret so that they could control the spice trade. You would not, in your own writing,
Would you be adding on or would you be saying this means?
to say more, it needs to be your own word. So,
What are you going to add on? But isn't that what it already says?
okay, and who would be affected?
So you wouldn't repeat what we already said. Hey guys, can I just redirect you for 1 second? Okay, remember when you say more, you're not going to repeat exactly what the quote said. So if you said, to add on, traders refused to reveal where they got their seasonings, you're basically repeating what was already stated in the quote. So when you're trying to say more about something, when you're trying to elaborate, okay, you're trying to think about maybe what this, remember the SPEC? What do you think this looked like? Okay, what do you think this looked like? What do you think that it, how did that affect the economy? Okay, think about that. What does it mean to control the spice trade in this case? Could you say more by talking about how that could affect the economy? If only a few people knew where to get those spices, and those were the only people that you could go to buy those spices, what's going to happen? Okay, so think about that for a second. And if you haven't already come up with something to say more, use that to inspire you. Okay, turn and talk.
And then you talk about it. got it. Not tell us how well it is for you and you're writing right now. What you do today. So I want you to write what you said. Don't tell me. Write what you said. Write that, and I want you to do it. Like pretend this is your method. Like this is not.
Bless you. Bless you.
Okay. So you're telling me what you would think about it. I want you to maybe you can write something over here. How do you
Say more by talking about how that would affect the economy.
right, but in your writing, you would say, like, you would just say how someone is already in there. And remember, we just do this symbol.
You have something that I can do. Well, I'm not sure that they could get more people to buy them. People had to go only to them to buy the spices, right? Because only a few people would have it. Okay, so maybe think about revising that a little, just a little bit. What did she write? Well, what does it mean by control? Okay, but you already said they can control. So what happens when they can control? What happens when?
Yeah. And then you're going to tell how they stuff
Okay, so let's share before we go to lunch. Kendall, I know that you and Emma were working on this. What would you say? Let's just write it in the air. So everybody put your pencil down. Listen with your good ears. Okay? And what could you say if you're going to say more?
They did not want the Europeans to know where they got the spices from, so that way they can get people to only come to them and buy the spices to make more money.
Okay, so let me just see what you said here. I'm going to read it out loud because I don't know that everybody over there, I don't know, Laura, that you heard that. Traders did not want the Europeans to know where to get the spices from, so that they had to go to them only to get them and they could make more money. So if we start with the quote, in contrast, the article A Bloody History explains that during the 1400s, Europeans had no idea where spices came from. Traders refused to reveal where they got the seasonings. They wanted to keep their sources secret so that they could control the spice trade. And so then she says more about this because she says the reason why that the traders did not want anybody else to know is because now everybody had to come only to them. They were the only suppliers of the spices and they could make more money. Okay, so notice how what we learned today, when we say more, thank you very much. Make sure you get a success ticket on your way back to your seat. When we say more, we don't just repeat the information. We don't just repeat the information, but we have to say something different about the information. And we can use our chart as a way to inspire us on other ways to say that. Okay, we have to stop right now for lunch. When we come back, we're going to have a very, very short work time because we want to make sure we have a larger work time for Reader's Workshop today. We're going to have a short work time, and there are two other practices on this sheet that you're going to do independently at your seat, and then we'll share in closing meeting. Okay, go ahead and make your way back to your seats, please.